Hello. In our last class, we have been able to establish some important understanding as it relates to Power BI, its application, and the interface. If you remember, we talked about the important features that you see in a Power BI environment. We have also understood what Power BI is. You say Power BI is what is an interface, a very um, power application tool that is used to visualize data in order to draw insights which are needed for decision making by the stakeholder, by decision makers, even by contemporaries. It is a very strong tool that makes understanding data easy. We also explained that Power BI has a very strong competition in the market, and that is Tableau. We also see it to collaborate with Excel because they are owned by the same company, Microsoft company. Now, we want to build further in what we have learned in the last two classes. We are going to look at how we bring in data and how we interpret the data inside, and also how to visualize this data. We're also going to, if time permits us, bring in data from multiple sources, not just from one particular data source. We are going to see if we can bring data also from server, especially Microsoft SQL server, known as structured query language server. So this is the interface, and always to get started, you can click on get started, or we can go directly to get our data from wherever we have kept it, or we'll go to the places we have gone recently, that some of them are displayed here. So we can do that, and we begin. So let me just use the get started. When you click on the get started, you remove this, you don't have your mail. This is for people that has companies. Because of collaboration, they want to have more than one person operating it at a time. That is the idea. But for a starter, you don't need that for now. So I can import my data directly from SQL, from a Excel file in my file folder, or I can go through the SQL, which we are going to do if we have time, or you can just type in numbers, figures for row and column, and you can able to use it to visualize. Or you can look at the sample size. This one I encourage you to open it for your practice. It is very some data have already been prepared there for your practice. So when we can either click on this Excel to take us to the Excel platform, or we'll come to this space and click on the Excel. Remember, this place is just displaying the home tab. We can go to insert, model, view, optimize, or help. We can even go to our file. Remember, it is always good to save your file after you have finished work. Like the last work we did not save it, so it may not appear, or if it will appear, it will appear as a recovered file if the system permits. So you're always encouraged to save it and give it a name so that you can always go back to it. So, but why I did not save was because the system did not display date for the order date and date for the ship date for our sample data. But today I wanted to start from there, but I discovered that the thing is showing me date in my Excel. So I like to go back again there to see what happens. Also remember, we talked about these two icons. One is for desktop, laptop layout. Of course, I am using a desktop, so it's already automatically set there. Another one is for mobile phone layout. And this page is there. This is for new pages, page one. You can continue as you click on the plus sign. It will continue to give you as many pages as you wish. And this is for the zoom. Depending on how you want the size to look like, it will give you exactly what you are looking for. Now this is the visualization pan. All these are what you can use to visualize your data. But as time goes on, we understand that not every visual is good for every data. Some data are good for line, others are good for bar chart, others can be used for different purposes, but you need to know what you are going to use for what in order not to cause confusion in your work. Remember, you are a professional, and as a professional, your work should look like a professional's work. Now, this is the format your report page. Among others, the data pin is here. Your filtering position is here, where you can concentrate on specific ideas as you want to work on your data. So let's go and bring in our data. Let me click on import from Excel. So it will take me directly to my data bank where I have kept this data. Why it went directly is that I've gone there before, so it has a memory to take me back there once again. So when you are talking on Excel, every file that will appear will be Excel file, but in the original file it may have other files, but as long as it's Excel you want to work with, it will only go and fetch your Excel where they are located in a file and allow you to now pick which you want to use. So this is sample superstore. So I click on it and open the data. So when I click on sample superstore and open the data, it is now connecting. After the connection, let's wait for it to connect. I can also expand this view to be the whole space. Now you can see that it has other dates, other filter database, people, and return. So these are the 4 files that are here, and my area of interest is on others, and maybe I'll put in people and I put in return, for instance. So if I have done that, I'm picking 3 files out of the 4. So it's previewing. Now after it has previewed, it has picked one. What it has picked is the one that is here. When you click on people, it will also preview to evaluate, and when you click on others that were made, it will preview, say preview download on Thursday. It was previewed on Thursday actually, but we are bringing it again. So you can see that this data is here, and the data in the preview have been truncated due to size limit. So it is not all the data that have been there, they just pick some because of the size, but that will be handled when I'm working on the server. I will teach you how to address that, but this one is already set. There's not much you can do, but we can now decide to do what I say. By the time you bring this in, you will see that you have option here, either to load, to transform, or to cancel and start afresh. Maybe what you want to bring in is not what you are seeing, you cancel, or this is what you have seen is exactly how you want it to be. It is well, because this is a place for preview. You have just looked at it. Oh, it looks nice. This okay. This is what I am looking for. There's no ambiguity, there's no challenge among others. Then you now say okay, load. But mostly time it is advisable that you go to transform. So you click on the transform. When you do that, it will take you now to the Power Query section of Power BI. The Power Query section of Power BI. That is where we can able to have ability to change some things before we bring it into our reporting platform. We can be able to change things. Like last time, we're able to change the name of others. We change it to what we called it margin. That is why we are seeing that thing that is order as dollar sign, is because of what happened. Now another thing again, you look, you say this preview may be up to 3 days old. So it's possible it can be up to 20 days, 3 weeks, 4 months. So if it's something that is self-updating, then you need to refresh. So refreshing is in case new idea, new item has been brought in your absence, you need to do what? Refresh and update. That is what is telling you. And now what is bringing first is the return. So, but basically we are interested in order. That is what we're so each of them that comes up, we refresh them. So this platform is called the Power Query Editor. This Power Query Editor is also found in Excel. Remember I said Excel and Power BI are working like twin brother. They have many things in common because they are produced by the same company. So this Power Query Editor is an important tool that is used uh, for to look into the data and make important changes and observation. Now, when you go into this environment, one thing is certain is that when you look at the top end, you see numbers, you see the name of the column, and you see a drop down menu. Now, this number is telling you that these items here are in number format, which is numeric. So if what we want is in numeric and it is also showing numeric, that means it is well placed. It doesn't have an issue. The next one, you see you have ABC, and this is order ID. ABC is indicating that it's a test data. It's a data that has test, even though it may have numbering, but as long as it has something like write up, you can see CA, you can see US, this write up, and you can see hyphen and the rest. They have made it to be a test data. Sometimes you can call it an a alphanumeric data, but that is not where we're heading to now. Know that this is what a test data. When you click on this small icon, it will list every unit that is present here, because it is for filtering. You can decide to select all, or you can pick what you want to pick, assuming you want to work. And when I say this limit is 1000 value reached, so we're not working with it. We just say okay, we'll go back to our work. And this is ABCD, the same thing. You can be able to make your selection from there. Now this is order date. This is a date function, and you see it's giving you a kind of a calculator type of arrangement, so that it's a date function. And I also said last time that numbers are arranged or aligned to the right of the column. This is the column. This is arranged to the right hand side. Texts are arranged to the left hand side. So if you have a text, and now dates are also arranged like numbers to the right hand side. So you can see order date is arranged to the right. Ship date is also arranged to the right or aligned to the right. Now when you move further, you can also look at others too. You see our customer ID is a text data arranged to the left. Ship mode is text data arranged to the left. Customer name is arranged to the left. So these are all tests. So that is how it will continue until you finish, until you get to the end. You see postal code. Postal code is being interpreted as number, so it's also arranged to what? To the right. So having understood this, and this is uniform. So when you see a data that has number, you see your cells are arranged to the right because they are what? Number. And I told you numbers too can have decimal places, and they are called float. Float is that number that has interplay of numbers and decimal point, are known as float. Quantity is an integer. You see it is written, or it has number 1 2 3, but says it has 1.2, showing you that it is what? A float. The same thing with discount, profit, among others. So this is where you end, but you can also add if you want to create, but that will go to that later. We'll continue to progress and understand the workings of Power BI. So having understood this, another thing you need to know is this formula bar. Formula bar will tell you how you arrive at a particular instance. So you have table, select row, change type, and the rest. So this you can also okay, let's also look at this. This is the steps. I told you once Any step, whatever you have done will appear here. Any changes you have done will also appear here. Now, assuming you want to do one or two things, like now, this, they say split column. You can also split this column. For instance, if we click on this, for instance, and you go to split column, you open this small triangle to give you other option. Are you splitting by what parameter? We are splitting by delimiter or by number character. Delimiter is talking about what is separating two words. That thing that is in between. Maybe when you are writing your name, and you, of course, maybe you have two names, James, John. James, after James, there will be a space. Then you have John. Now that space now become what is separating the two. And now when you have a date, 25th slash 6 slash 24. Now that slash is also what is called delimiter. It can be a point. Anything at all that separates two things that you can use to remove them is known as delimiter. Then you can also split column by numbers of character. You can say after you have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 character, then you split, and now you can use them. You can also split by position. You say from number 1 up to number 20 or 15, you now split. That can be possible. You can split by lowercase to uppercase. The one that has right up in small letters, you can separate them from the one that have writing in capital letter, assuming it is uniformly arranged, or uppercase to lowercase. So it can be split in any of these. So for instance, if you say we are splitting by delimiter, I told you have steps. You can always go back. So you click on splitting this column that you have highlighted by delimiter. When you have done that, now it says split by delimiter. Specify the delimiter used to split the text column. You say split to enter delimiter by space, split at leftmost delimiter or rightmost. So leftmost, the one that comes first, or rightmost, the one that comes last, or rightmost, or each occurrence at the delimiter. So each also, if anywhere there's a delimiter, you split from that. You can even have advanced option amongst others. So if you are splitting by space, let's open this and look at what is there. You are splitting by space. You can split by column, by comma, by equal sign, by even by custom. So you have space here. We'll go back to this space. You are splitting by space and by occurrence, and you just say okay. Now let's see what will happen to this. Of course, you see that it has splitted into two. Now you are seeing second here, and the next one you are seeing class here. So what we have done now is what is appearing here, change type 1. So when you move a bit to understand, you see it is now bearing the same name, ABC ship 1 mode, ABC ship dot 2. So the ship mode now is in 1 and 2. 1 is in seconds and 1 is in class. So that is how you can split your column. So because I'm not splitting this, just for example, I will come back here and clean this step. If I don't clean this step, I can, okay, it's not appearing here. To appear in the main canvas, there's always this arrow that's pointing back that will take you back to your next step, but it will be in the main canvas. So I will come here and clean this step. That means I am not interested in that step. So once I have done that, then I will click shift this delimiter. You see that our class has come back to its original form. So this is one important thing you must know. So we'll continue. We also want you to, assuming we have this already and you wish to bring in more data into your work because you want to join. Remember, relationship is what defines most of analytic visualization tools. So you can go to this place and click on new data source. For instance, you want to bring a new data source which you are not bringing, but we want to show you how you can do that. You see, we have Excel worksheet. You can bring any data within this space or even more. So when you click on it, it will take you, for instance, if I click on the Excel worksheet, it will take me back again to my data bank space. in order to bring in new data source. But for now, we are not doing that, so we'll just cancel it. But I want to show you that we can use that to bring in new data source, or you can go to your recent source, the one you have used before, or you can enter a data entry, or whatever you want to do, you can do that here. You can look at the properties of your work. You can work with advanced editor. You can manage your work. You can even choose columns or choose, let's look at this. Choose columns or you go to column. Whatever you want to do is applicable. You can keep row, you can remove row, the rows you don't want, maybe empty rows, you can do that. You can even sort this work if there's a need for it. Remember, you just do things because you have the platform for yourself. You do things when there's a need for you to do it. If there's no need, please avoid doing, so that you don't cause confusion to the work. But one important thing you must always know, that if you are giving a work, you make sure that the source of the work is well intact. As you have brought in data, make sure that data source is still maintained, so that if whatever you are doing has caused you confusion, you don't know your part again. You can clean off everything and start afresh by bringing fresh data that has not been uh, manipulated, so that you can understand your step. So you can also know your data type. Like this one we are clicked now is showing us that is a test data. So let's click this one and see as we click this, and it shows that it's a date data. Okay, so let's look for another one again. So all this is for your understanding. Let's take the ID. It says it's a whole number. It's a whole number. So whatever you are clicking, you are getting your results. And if you want to see everything, this is the place. When you click on this place, will give you the room to do a lot of manipulation again. So there's no one place, one position you can say this is the only position. There are a lot of positions. All you need to do is to understand how to use it. You can copy entire table. Maybe you want to keep two set of table for control. You can use first row as header. It is where you repair it. And you can add custom column among other things. Keep top row, bottom among others. You can merge your queries, remove errors amongst many. So let's go back to this. Now we have seen this. We can think we'll take a step which we're not supposed to take. Okay, now the next thing is we're on the file, we're on the home. You go to transform, for instance. You go to transform pane to look at what is in transform. Now for transform, you can see you can group your work. You can use first row. Some of those things that we saw here are still here. You can transpose. Transpose means you are changing your position. What used to be on the vertical will now be by the horizontal. That is when you are transposing. You can even see it here. So if your data is row by column by row, it will now become row appearing on the vertical and column appearing on the horizontal. We can even reverse the row. That means the one that is first will become last. So let's look at it. Let's look at reverse row. Remember, this is number one and the rest, and you click on the reverse row and see what happens. Remember, any step you take, you don't like it, always come back here and change it. So don't be afraid to manipulate and touch things. That is how you know. Now you can see that the last row has become the first row, and the first row has become the last row. So because you are seeing it, you can now click on this to go back again to where it used to be. You go to the transpose also, you can touch it too to see how it will look like. There's no crime in trying. It helps to build your memory of learning. So when we have touched that, we want to see how our transpose will look like. Now this is how your transpose looks like. So your rows, all this is your columns now, and this is your row. And you can imagine how large from here. It is, of course, does not look nice, but this is what it is. You see column 2, column 1, it's all to the last one, and it's also giving you. Now look at something that is interesting here. It is showing you ABCD and showing you 1 2 3. So what this means is that the system cannot actually interpret whether you are working with a numeric data or you are working with a text data. That is what it means. It means you that have done this, use your hand and tell me what type of data that I am. That is what it's saying. So because we are not using this for just for the sake of knowing, we are going to go back again to the transpose, and either we'll go to transpose to bring it back, or we'll come here and remove the transpose. So we are removing the transpose. So it has brought us back to where it was. You can even rename your table, or you can rename your column. It's all workable. You can count your rows, whatever you want to do. Data type is given, dictate data type and the rest. You can replace value, maybe they are missing values. You can fill it up amongst others. So this is a place where we do a lot of things, joining. It has statistics, standardization amongst others. So the next thing you look at column. People can add column to what we have here. Maybe you decided to now do some calculation or manipulation. In the calculation, for instance, you will say, okay, looking at this data, we have some interesting things there. Maybe for instance, I have let's look at the data very well. We have the sales. I will have quantity. I think we also have profit. We have profit and we have discount too. So we can say, okay, how about having what do you call it now? Sales times quantity, and you give it a name, or you call it total revenue that is gotten from what you sold and the quantity that is available. So you can now create a column, and in that column you multiply this by this, and once you have done it, you will now give it a name, total column, and that is what it will bear. So we can go ahead to do it. So when you want to do that, now you can see we have three aspects. This is general, this is from text, this is from number, from date and time, all inside. So you come to here, you see that we have column from examples. So this column from examples means that you want to create a column, but you want to show this system, which is an intelligence, artificial intelligence, how you want to create that column. So if you show it how you are going to create that column, it will go ahead and begin to create column. Because remember, sometimes we have data that are up to millions, 2 3 4 million. Now you want to write something, you'll be writing number 1, number 2, number 3. For how long are you going to finish the work? So that is how it has been created to help you do that from example. So let us see if we can do that, maybe using example. So we come here and say from example, from all column, from selection. So want to use example from selection. Want to select where we do our example. Quantity. Okay. So want to use something that the system will look at. City. Want to look at name. What's the product name? Do you have customer name? Let's check. Okay, we have customer name. Now this is customer name, for instance. So watch me carefully what I'm going to do. So here this customer is Clara Good. Clear Good. Let me look again before I Okay. So I'll now write C for Clara and G, and I will now write at gmail.com. The next is C clear good. I'll write CG at gmail.com. Then the next is DVH or DV, the first two name, DV at gmail.com. The next is SO at gmail.com. The next again is SO at gmail.com. The next is BH 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 at gmail.com. So enter sample value to create new column, transform 6 for them. Let's put an OK and look at what happens. Okay, let's see. This didn't do well. I'm going to repeat it. So first of all, I can remove this. I'll go back. And maybe use all columns because all of them have implication. So if I use all columns, I'm able to go back to the names. Let's go back to the customer name and look at it again. So this is clear good CG at gmail.com. The next is cg at gmail.com. The next is so at gmail.com. So you click OK now. You see that it has now created a mail based on the first two names. Now what happened why the first one did not create was I did not select the entire call, it was just the section, so it was not understanding it very well. Like this one that is JC, when we trace this, we see that the first name should be what? JC, and this is JC. So okay, so that is how we can be able to create a column. So I have cleaned it. Was an example, you can see put it back. All you need to do is to come to the custom example. When you come to the custom example, for instance, you go to from all columns. That means you look at everything. Then you come here, you can give it a name. You say customer email address, for instance. So customer email address, you will now start by go to the name. I'm taking my time to do this so that when you want to do yours, it will not be a challenge. It will be very, very easy and simple. But all you need to do is to follow the step, and you get this customer name. So you see, this is Clara Build. So you say CG. So say CG. Let's use the small letter CG at gmail.com. You know, we are doing by example, so it is learning what we are doing. Second thing you do is the same CG at gmail.com. The third one, you go again and you do dv at gmail.com. You go again and you see it has now understood what you want to do. Like this is Andrew Allen AA. So you say add column from enter sample. We have done sample, we are giving them example, so it has taken Q. So you come here and click OK. So no matter the number that we have, it will go ahead to do what? To appropriate what you want to do. So you have succeeded in doing what? Creating a new column. It also go ahead to tell you that this is what? And a text data. So you have created an email. Even if it's million, it will go ahead and accurately do that for you. So another one again, you can create column through custom create column. When we click on it, we see what it means. Now this is how to do custom create column. Now create new name. Which name do you want to? You say want to give a name, want to call it revenue. Is what we want to create, revenue. So how do you create the revenue? You can click on this to bring it up so you see what you are doing. It was asking you how to create revenue. Now custom column formula, then it's have a simple formula, very easy. So you want to create the revenue, by saying is equal to sales. Remember we say we want to see sales and what? And quantity. So we'll come here and we click on sales. Click on the sales and insert it. It will come there. When you have done that, you come here and click on this place and shift it a bit and insert your multiplication. That's when you go in your calculation tab under number 8, you see your asterisk. It is the sign, multiplication sign. So you want to multiply it and you go again by quantity. You click on quantity, then you insert quantity. Now when you have done that, look at the place. If it's covered that there is no red line and it's telling you no syntax error have been found, that means you have done good. Your work is in order. So if that is in order, you come here and click OK. So because I have done that, you see, it will now populate everything for you. What did it do? The system went ahead to multiply this 261.96 by 2. And this is the answer. 79 point what by 3. And this is the, and that is how it continues until you finish. So it has given you a new row, which you now calculate. But you see, it is still telling you which one are you using. Is it a text or are you using a revenue? So in this scenario, what do? You come here and you give it what you want. It's covered that quantity is a whole number and the other one was a this. That is why it's behaving that way. So you can set to call it a float or a decimal because it's appearing a decimal. That means you have now arranged it. You see the sign has changed. So this is all what we can do under transform. But after you have finished that, you can now bring everything into the place where you do your analysis and it will make your work sweet. The next one now, you can invoke custom function. Now how do you invoke custom function? Now you invoke custom function, invoke a custom function defined in this file for each row. So you give a name and you give your question. Well, let me say which name do we know. Let's look at this. We can say profit multiplied by quantity. The other one was profit by was sales by quantity. So we'll call it expanded profit. Just for calculation's sake, we say expanded profit. Okay, so when we have done that, it's a function query. So how do we query this function? It's not giving me the room to query the function. Let me see. Okay, and see. So we need to query this function, but it's not coming up. So let's not waste time on this. We'll come back to that later. But these two first, hold it and hold it very, very well. So you see, you have conditional column, index column, duplicate column. You want to duplicate a particular column, you can do that by clicking on it and coming to duplicate column. It will give you duplicate. Maybe you want to give it a different name. You can extract among others, can format your work, make it look nicer amongst others. So assuming you have finished this is a place for view. In the view, there's some things you need to learn here in the view. Most of them is want to look at the quality of our work. It's good that we have data, but how good is your data? That is the question. That is where we'll come to this place to look at it. So when you look at under our view, we have formula bar. This formula is important for people that want to know how a work comes about, but some work don't need you to do that. So some people are not interested in it, or you want to keep it one side and do your work. So if you come here and uncheck this formula bar, this formulas this place will disappear, and when you check it again, it will appear. So let's uncheck and see. See, formula bar has disappeared. So what I'm doing is that in case you are working and suddenly your formula bar disappears, you become confused. Remember that you can come to your view and bring it back. So you can bring it back. So you have monospaced, You have show white space, colon quality, colon distribution. So we're going to look at colon quality and colon distribution as an important factor as long as this transformation is important. So when you click on the colon quality, you see something interesting has just come up. You see you have valid under green, which is green light. Remember, traffic light has green as move, error is red light stop, and empty set is this. Now in data science and in data analytics, empty set or null value is not what is needed for calculation and visualization. It makes bad visuals. So that is why we want to know what and what is there. So when you see valid, it means that in this all of the column that we are seeing, 100% of this column are valid. That means everything, there's no missing value here, and there's no value that are put in error, and there's no empty set. So the next one, you can also look at it again. We'll call it VEE, valid, error, empty. So with it, you can see when you continue to move your cursor to the, you'll be looking at it, you'll be sure that if there's anyone that is empty. But in but in actual fact, most of, this is a sample data, so we're not expecting to have many error. But in actual fact, most of our data are either they are not complete or they are full of noise. When we say noise, it means that a lot of things are not properly kept. Either the value that's supposed to be a text is stored as a number, or it is not well arranged, or there's missing value, or the calibration is wrong. Something must make it to be dirty, or the lot of duplications or NaN values. So when you have it as a data analyst or data scientist, it's your work to know what to sit down and clean the data. But now you have, most of our work is cleaning of data. Most of our work is cleaning of data. Even this one that we created, discover that it is still 100% feed, and there's no error. Likewise this. So this is what you see in quality. So because a question may come and say, what do you see when you want to look for column quality? You say you look for how valid, and if there's an error, and if there's empty space. So the next thing again you are going to know is column distribution. So we want to stop there and look at it again, what column distribution entails. Now, column distribution is talking about two important things. You see, we have distinct, row ID 1000, 100% distinct, 1000, 100% unique. Now, we want to know two things here. What's the difference between distinct and unique? I explained it previously in previous class, but I want to further explain it again so that you better understanding. Now, when we say that data source or a data or data space is distinct, it means that we cannot have two numbers that are the same or two values that are the same in all of a given column. Then we're talking about distinct value, and it's only common for what? Number ID, which is unique. No two person have the same ID. Even in national identification, no two person have the same ID, not same number, whether dead or alive, so that you can be able to identify one person at a time. So that is why we see that this row ID is 1000, because we have 1000 row, and each of them have number 1, number 2, number 3, up to 1000. Now for the unique, now sorry, what I've been explaining is unique, not distinct. Unique is one person not replicating his number. But for distinct is talking about having numbers that are within a range. For instance, I use my finger as an example. You have if I use the thickest finger as the thumb as number 1, and the smallest as number 5, and I now assign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to my fingers. And now if I have done that, and I have about 1000 rows, and a row must have a value between the range of number 1 to number 5, discover that when we are talking about these things, we are looking at only 5 types of numbers, either number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. There cannot be number 6, but it is not one number. So number 1 may occur 100 times or 200 times. So that is what we say distinct. So distinctly will have 5 distinct number, and they may have different levels of frequency. But for unique, one number, and that is all. We cannot have 2 numbers appearing the same. So for this row ID, you see that it is both 1000 in distinct and it's also 1000 in unique value. That is what you see here. And when you now go to the other ID in which the customers use in making a purchase, you see that we have 479 distinct, and the unique is 226, meaning that 226 number does not repeat themselves, but between 479 are distinct number which can appear severally within a given distribution. And you can also see those distributions aligned here, and you can see that distinct and unique is just 111. And for this is 373 distinct and 103 unique. This is giving us an important information with respect to analysis. Now when you want to analyze and you want to pick figures or data you want to use, of course it will be out of proportion, or it does not make sense to use data that are 1000 unique value. It means you are going to see 1000 different rows. How can you make your visualization? It becomes practically impossible. So at this particular point, the lower the unique value, the better for your analysis. So that is one thing you should have in your mind. Now if that is correct, you look at again, you see that we have a value here which is the ship mode that has what? 4 distinct and no unique value. So the distinct means you have second class, maybe first class, standard, and any other class. When we look at it, we'll see it. So it's part of what you study. You see, consumer has 3 distinct. This segment, consumer segment, home, and I think it will be stationary. When we look at it, you see it. You have country, only one country is here, United States of America. And as you continue to move, you continue to see different value. And for this one too, you can see something important. We have 4 south, north, east, and west. So this is how you get to know about distinct and about unique values. I hope you have learned that very, very critically, unique and distinct values. So having said that, there's also what we call our dependency query. What is depending on what? But most time it is when you are working with more than one table. When you are working with more than one table, it makes it more easy to understand. So it is your tools of analysis, diagnosis, status diagnosis, and diagnostic options. So we'll go back to the home page. We have looked at this work, and the work is okay. We don't have missing values, and we don't have error values, and we don't have missing value, don't have error values, and we don't have empty sets. This is good for analysis. Remember, assuming there's those missing value and the rest, there are some things we will do in order to address them, and we'll come to do that when we bring in other data too, that will help us, that will crack our brain, that will help us to get those into understanding or into view. So now, after you have done this, you come to this segment, close and apply. You can close directly, or you can open this drop down arrow, and you see it has 3 segments, close and apply. That means you are still working, or you just apply it without closing, or you close. So I click on close and apply. So when you click on close and apply, it will now bring you now back to the canvas for the analysis proper. You see, it is now it has assumed that you have looked at all the different tables, the orders, the people, and the return. These ones are not too important for now. This one that has a lot of value that we want to look at, but you will come to join them later to get visuals. We did that in Excel, previous classes that I have taught. We'll see do it when we get to Excel again, for people that are going to be doing the Excel in no distant time. So these steps I'm taking it time by time. Please, if you don't understand any step in what I'm teaching, play back the video. If you miss 3 times, play it 3 times, understand those steps I have taken, and it will not be a problem for you. So we have finished this. You see it has entering it, working on it. Now it has opened up a video, it has brought it in. How do I know? You look at your data side, you see that other people and return has now been brought to the data pane, means that the data is now populated. And now this is the environment where we can do our what visualization. And I told you this is the reporting view here. The next one is the table view. You can go back again on table view. Let's go and see what we have done. Remember, we created 2 columns. Those columns are, we expect it to be here too. So when it finally open, you will see that those columns are there. We created 2 columns. Yes. So let's look if those columns are there. Don't be afraid of looking at values and the rest. They are the joy of this work. Very soon you become a pro, and nobody will challenge you as matter has to do with analytics. So you see our custom is also here and revenue is here. So we have looked at that. You come here, you see there's any relationship because you want to build up a model, and we have three values, but of course there's no relationship there. There's nothing that is joining them, but that's not our concern now. We'll come back again to the report view, and we'll look at our order, open up the order table and see what it looks like. Open up the order, you can see our order category, city, country, and if this is small, you can always you can shift it so that you can see more of it. Don't be afraid to touch anywhere, so we can see what we have. Now the ones that are for calculation will give you a summation sign, but don't be fooled by this summation sign. It is not everyone that has summation. Like if you have done statistics, you see sigma f, sigma fs, which is summation, but it's not everything. This is computer and artificial intelligence kind of build up, so it is not that sophisticatedly intelligent. So it will only see things that look like numeric and sum it. But remember, it is not every numeric that we use here. If you can remember, date was also treated as a what? As a numeric where it was aligned to the right. So the same date can come here and they will see address it as such. So date is giving date function, yes, but the IDs, postal code, you see, has summation. Now there's nothing to sum about postal code. You can also see the role ID is also summed. There's nothing to work with when it comes to role ID. It's not a calculation this thing. And you see the other ones too are also there. Subcategory. What is that thing we created? We created revenue. You see our revenue is not understood as a calculation function, even though it has the this thing because it was formed. But as time goes on, I will teach us how to change this, to teach us about implicit function and explicit function and what it is when it comes to analytics. But we are moving up gradually. So having seen this, last time I was able to do some visual. Let me do 1 or 2 visual, then we'll go and see if we can bring in data from SQL. So those of you that don't have SQL, I will take my time to teach you how to download and install SQL in your system, so that you can able to, and also put in a database, adventure work database, that is provided by Microsoft company, to help us to use it for analysis. So if you pick country, for instance, you click on country and want to see the profit per country. Now when I pick country will bring out a map. So let's not use country now. I will do that later for us. Let's remove this. Let's pick something like um, category. Category and profit. Want to see what part does the profit, how is profit distributed among the categories, and we can see this. We can bring it, drag it up a bit to see if you can. It is not expanding in terms of number. It's showing number. Okay, we can now decide to do what, put it in a kind of a data, what do you call it now, visual. We say let's use do not chart, for instance. Let it break it for us. Now let's put it on focus mode and see how it looks like. Now you see this is our category. We have three of them: technology, office supply, and furniture. And we can see that by calculation 6.4% is for what, is for furniture. You can see the color. And this is office supply, and it's 42.77% of the profit is coming from there. And of course technology is taking the lion's share, which is 50.79%. So not only is it showing you the number, it's also showing you the percentage of the profit. So this is what you can see by visual. So this visualization now makes you to see better. So we can now go back, we move it back to our report page, and see if we can create another visual. So we'll just click outside of this. Remember, if it is here, you are working with this. Everything here is telling you how you can manipulate this figure. You see category, all of them are being shown. Sum of profit, all of them are being shown. Remember, it is category and profit we are just opposing here. That's why they are coming up. So you can decide to what, filter it, pick out something from it and only view. That is at your discretion. But we're not doing that now. The next thing we do, let's open up another. Maybe we'll say subcategory by sales. We say sales by subcategory. So we are seeing sell, how it is divided by different category. We can move it and come here. It will even aid you on how you can be able to. I can push it up a bit and bring it down. So we are seeing this. Then we go to focus mode, you see it better. We can see what is driving this market or this item. You see phone and share have very high sales, and it's even sorted from biggest to the lowest. And the lowest, see fasteners, we see label, we see art. So this is subcategory. We can also change the map. We can say, okay, let us see, maybe use this tree map to look at it. It is broken down into different segments for your view and interpretation. So that is one thing again we can do. So let's I'm almost through. I don't always like to take more than 1 hour, so that when you are watching the video it will not take all your time, so that you don't stress yourself too much. Learning is not all about pumping teaching of 5 hours. It is all about getting understanding. So understanding is where I am always targeting at. So I will teach you how to bring in SQL, maybe with one example, then we'll close. Just spare me 10 minutes and we'll do that. So to bring in a data from SQL, you come to this, you see say import data from SQL. If it was from the starting point, you see SQL is second after Excel. So when you click on SQL here, I've already opened my SQL in my laptop. So I want to, you say what is server name, so you need to bring in the server. So I will come to my SQL environment. I click on my SQL and copy. Okay. So let me open again. If it doesn't allow me, I follow another route. There's many ways in which you can always get your work. Okay, it's not allowing me. Let me go back to my So as I'm bringing my Microsoft SQL, let me bring it into the environment so that I can able to copy the server name. All I need is server name. This is how Microsoft Studio looks like. So I hope as it's opening up, we have been able to know all about VEE, which is the value, the error, and empty sets. So this is what I want to get. So this is the server, so I can copy it. Once I've copied it, I will now go to my work. Where is my work again? um, Power BI environment. I will now do Control V. So my desktop has been copied. The database is optional. If I pick it here, it will work. If I don't pick it, it will leave. Now I look at it, say data connectivity. You want to import or you want to do direct query from there. So I want to do what? I want to import what I have there. So you now click OK. So now this is server. Remember, you can only do this when you have your own server in your laptop. If you don't have your server in your laptop, you cannot be able to bring in this. Remember I told you Microsoft SQL, Power BI, and Microsoft Excel are all working in what? In collaboration. So it is easy to do this. So you see that we have Adventure Works 2022 because it was asking me option. I didn't pick, so all of them were brought in here. Even with one, the database I created, these are all database where you have data stored. So I want to maybe work with the first one. So I will just click on it. This is what I want to work with. Adventure Work 2022. And let me see. Okay, I've clicked on it. Now these are all the database, the data that are in the database. These ones that are there are not actually data, is what we are going to use to understand some of the installation and the rest. The way the data starts is from here. You can see it. So it is not everything that you pick, but whatever you want to pick is what you want to bring into your environment for analysis. So I will decide to do what? To look at the work and maybe pick some things for the sake of our work. Sales by customer, uh, sales by country. I don't want this. It doesn't have any value for me. Sales by territory. As I'm touching it, some of them are just opening for preview. Person, human resource employee, human resource employee. These are for the sake of production, location, work order, and work order routine. This is for the sake of example. There's nothing we have in mind as we're picking this, so it's possible you may get all what you have in mind to work with, or you may not get all, but it doesn't matter for now. The idea is just have, this is how you can pick. After you have picked, I don't need to begin to look at transformation because I know this is already in database, it has been worked on. So I will just click on load. So I'm not trying to now load this Power BI, this SQL straight into my Power BI environment. So I hope you are following me. I hope you are following me. So it will load this. After loading, after reading it, it will load it, create everything as needed, and bring it into the environment, and we are good to go. So he has finished loading, and it's working on it, and it has been brought into the environment just as as good as A, B, C, and D. So I can collapse this order. So now you see that we have order. Order is the one that we had before, people and return. We see that we have new data has entered. Human resource employee, um, production location, production product, production work order, amongst other. These are the new things that we have created. We can also look at the table. When we come here, we'll look at the tables. Depending on the table you want to see, this table now is the other table. If you want to see human resource employee table, you click on human resource employee, and what I see now is human resource employee table. You look at the data, business entity ID, national ID number, login ID, organization node, organization level, job title. Remember, it's not every column. Date of birth, marital status, gender, hire date, salary flag, vacation hour, among others. So all this information are there, just normal entry that you see in business. We also look at production products, which will be 4. So we click on production product 2 to see how it looks like, giving us the name, production, make flag, and the rest. So this is how they are. But what I want to do here is to show you relationship, and it is called model. So when you come here, this is model view, you open it again. Remember the last time we opened this model, it didn't show us much that we desire because there was nothing that was joining anything. But this time around, you see that it is quite different. I can collapse this property first so that we can see more of the data. We can even collapse this too so we can see more. And if we are not seeing more again, we can come here and reduce our map size so that it can be able to show us everything. Now for this one, you have seen first, see that there are relationship. Something is joining two tables, and when I use my cursor and touch this arrow point, you see that two things, production location and production work order, are related by location ID, which is the one that are showing in ash color for the two different tables. And you see you have one, yeah, so an asterisk, it means that you have one-to-one relationship. One primary key is joined to another primary key in a two different tables. That brings these two to become related, and you can actually use them for analysis. Now coming here again, we see that, let me expand it a bit so that you can see, okay. So here we'll come here, we see, touch it again, location ID is the relationship that we have here that is joining these two tables. And when we come to this place, and it is one-to-one. Now the relationship will have about 4. We have one-to-one, we have one-to-many, we have one-to-many, and many-to-one. So this is the 4 we have. But most time, many to many is not always advisable because it tends to bring a lot of confusion and complexity to work. But one-to-one is okay, one-to-many is okay. And the one-to-many, when we touch on another database, you can see that very, very clearly. Now you see here, when we touch on here, you see the relationship. I have to bring this one down a bit. I collapse this, expand it again, and bring this arrow down. Okay, let's go again and touch. You see the relationship is existing, and let's also bring this one down. So now see where this relationship is really occurring. See, work order ID and work order ID is both in production work order and in production work order routine and in production work order. Now when we look at the production product, you also see one-to-one relationship, but the relationship is flowing from one to this, and this is flowing from one to this. It has direction of flow, so most of them are flowing down to this. So when you touch on these two, you see that product ID is a relationship with another product ID in two different tables. Okay, Now, going to the right hand side, you see there's no relationship between production table and sales territory. But sales territory is existing with sales customer. Let's move a bit to see how the relationship is established. And now you see it's still 1 to 1. So when I bring this down, I touch it again. So territory ID is relationship. So relationship is what determines our visualization capability. That is one thing you should have in mind. Relationship, relationship, and all about what? Relationship. Now this is the ones we had before. All these ones do not have anything. I told you I was just bringing it down. I didn't have anything in mind. Remember our order is still there. People, and of course the last one, which is the return, they don't have a relationship. So having had that in mind, let's go back to our canvas and open up, let's remove it again from the focus mode that it was and open up a new page. Now when we open up a new page, just to touch one or two things, then we'll close. Now there was a relationship that we saw, and one of them is on some of the products here. So it will help me to maybe open up my product ID and pick something there. This is the table. I can open this product ID and look at something that I can pick. Maybe what can we pick here? Standard cost, which is cost of production. We can pick standard cost. Standard cost will appear from this table. Because there's a relationship, I can now close this one and go to maybe production work order and see there's something that may be able to be picked from there. I can pick other quantity and bring out my focus. You see, we're able to establish relationship here between two items that are on different table because of the relationship that we established earlier. We can visualize them differently and see whatever it gives us. So this is just for your digestion. We are going to stop here. I have not touched date. I have not touched hierarchy. I have not touched grouping. I have not touched a lot of things. So we are building up our work from scratch to this level that we are gotten to. So we are building up our work from scratch to this level. So have it in mind that we have been able to look at VEE, distinct and unique. We have understood our data. We have known how to use our formula bar. We have also seen visualization pane and how it is utilized. And in next class I will explain further what this all stands for. I will put them to use and even how to bring in further values. So we have also engaged in bringing in data from our SQL server and also data from our sample superstore server. We have talked about relationship and modeling. We have also used Power Query to work on our work. And now the last thing before we close is how to save your work. So whatever we have done today, we can revert to it back by saving the work. You can go to save, or you go to file first, then you go to save as, and you call it any name you like. Maybe you say sample super store by CDC day 3. So this is the name we just gave it, and you save. Now it has been saved, so it is now kept for you. So you can come back tomorrow and continue from where you stop. So please study this. You have any question, confusion, or where you are failing in trying to work, let me know and we'll resolve it. And I wish that studies will be on your side and knowledge and understanding will also be by your side. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.